You actually talked about that in next episode.
Let me start that just section.
Yeah.
Just going to do that. So Yay, you're here. Welcome to How to Be a Grown-Up with CK and GK. Let's get started. Hey friends, we're so glad that you're here. Welcome to How to Be a Grown-Up, the how-to show for moms who need a media cleanse, like me. I'm Caitlin, and Ariella's here today.
Hi!
Yeah, so Ariella Monti, author of Roots in Ink and the new novel Bound by Ink, which I still haven't read yet, but I'm so ready. Okay, and she's a cactus bursting with glitter instead of spines.
Oh, I have plenty of spines though.
I mean, you can have both if you want. Yeah. I feel like that's more appropriate, you to have both.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's true.
Today, well, hold on, let me back up. We have been talking about civic engagement lately, like meaningful ways to get involved and doing so in a way that honors your time and setting boundaries about how you engage so that you can maintain your bandwidth, because this is a marathon, not a sprint. But here's something we have yet to touch on. You can't act wisely if you have bad information, right? So that said, today we're talking about media literacy. But before we do that, I just want to make sure that you're following both Ariella and I on Threads. Are you doing that? At CK and GK Podcast. And Ariella, tell everybody your handle because I'll mess it up, even though I know what it is.
Ariella_Monti.
Yes.
And that's
there
it.
we go.
Very
Really easy
simple.
one. Just find her there. So let's get to it. Kick it off for me.
All right. So, aside from writing spicy romance fantasy books, before that, I was a journalist. And before that, I have got a degree in media studies. So, media literacy is very important. I put a whole bunch of sources in the notes, including some of my favorite media literacy creators that are on TikTok, and they have Patreons and all that kind of fun stuff. They are actual professors and PhDs who work in this field, and I have learned a ton from them post the college years.
Sure.
Which was a very long time ago.
So all that to say, you are qualified to speak on this topic.
I feel like I'm qualified to speak on this topic.
Fair.
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't say that lightly.
No.
But
this is a serious topic. I think no, you're qualified to speak on it, and you're also recommending other sources. There's a list of them in the show notes, but things like, PBS, JSTOR, which is a research database. And then those creators, you have Dr. Gabriel Cruz, Abby Richards, and Professor Casey Feisler
I think it's Feisler.
Feisler, yeah. I think so too. They're all listed in the show notes. You can go check out their resources. All of those are there. And then, of course, there'll be more information for the blog post for this episode. So
we're going to talk about media literacy basics today. This is not going to be like my introduction to communication theory class that I took my sophomore year of college. This is going to be very basic. I am also not nearly as entertaining as my leather-clad professor was that year.
Nice. Leather-clad professor? I'm kind of here for it.
Which was not common back in 2002.
Here for it.
Instead, you have me in sweatpants and a tank top.
It's all good. I mean, hey, this, if nothing else, leather-clad professor sounds like something that you could use in one of your novels moving forward.
Yes,
I mean,
now I have to.
Yep. Yeah. You're welcome.
I've got to write it down.
That's poor man's trademark right here on that. Got it. Okay.
So media literacy is an extremely large umbrella that encompasses the content that we consume through social media, the news, but also movies, TV, and books. And much of media literacy is developing the critical skills that they tried to teach us in all those humanities classes that we took, like English and art and stuff
history
like
that I used to teach, where I'd be like, critical thinking is important. Yes.
Right. Like, oh my God, this stuff is applicable to real life.
Like, look at that. There's context around the information that we're learning. No way. Shocker. Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
So a simplified version of the definition of media literacy from the National Association for Media Literacy Education is the skills necessary to both comprehend the message we receive and how to use those same tools to distribute our own message. And so the goal is to be able to ask questions and make sound judgments rooted in facts and evidence.
A skill that needs developing in the present. Got it. Okay.
Yes, very much so. Because this is such a huge topic, I am just going to focus on social media and online content. All of this information is applicable to teens and children as well. It's very basic stuff that can be taught to them very easily. I actually pulled some of this from curriculum that's posted on the PBS website is made specifically for teens.
Perfect.
So it was already broken down kind of into very like manageable, easy to understand pieces.
Love it.
And since there's a lot of overlap, these fundamental skills can be applied to almost anything, almost everything, including this episode.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
We've told people we're fact adjacent. Am I going to get in trouble?
No, you know what? This is it's what we're going to talk about sources later, but we always put the sources in. We like show people where we're getting that information so that they can go and check it themselves. And that is like at the end of the day is something that like that's what we want them to do.
Sure. Like
and be able to do.
There's that. I mean, it's twofold, right? Like I want people to know where I'm getting my information from, but I also don't want to be told that I'm not providing credit where credit is due.
Right. Oh yeah.
So the intellectual property part of my family would be very upset if I did not do those things. But I do think it's important to put those there because I do want people to say like this resource I would not recommend using anymore or whatever it is. Like I want to be told that when that happens. So absolutely, yes.
Absolutely. So to get started, when we talk about misinformation and disinformation is to understand that those words are not synonyms. They are often used interchangeably, but misinformation and disinformation are two totally different things in the media literacy.
Got it.
So misinformation is false information that spreads regardless of intent. So it can be malicious, but it's not always. So this might be like accidentally sharing a news article from 2015, but because you thought it was new. Or the time a bunch of years ago when I almost retweeted an article from The Onion because I was too tired to notice the source or grasp that it was very obviously satire.
Honestly, though, with The Onion, sometimes they're just playing with fire. Like, it's so close to feeling true. So, I mean, at first glance, I can honestly say I don't blame you for...
Exactly.
Yeah.
On the flip side, it could be something like presenting information without the full context.
Okay.
Like, say, you see a post about how 9 out of 10 children at Sunshine School can't read, but they don't mention that 9 of the 10 kids are under the age of 5.
By the way, there's probably a school named Sunshine School somewhere. We don't know. That's not, sorry to them. We're just using you as an example. Sunshine and Farts. How about that? There's no school called Sunshine and Farts. We're good.
Yeah, I am sure your students are your
excellent.
5-year-olds.
Right, I bet they're excellent.
Wonderful kids.
Readers. Right. Yep. Okay.
Disinformation is the purposeful spreading of misinformation. So this is knowingly sharing false information for the express purpose of eliciting a response. So misinformation is false information that kind of goes around regardless of the intent. So sometimes it's legitimate mistakes and sometimes it's purposeful mistakes, but disinformation, it has a real malicious intent behind it.
Got it. Okay. I'm just forming judgmental thoughts in my head right now, so I'm going to ask that you please proceed with the information giving of this part of the podcast. Okay.
So common disinformation techniques, because like I said, disinformation is intentional. So there are guidelines and techniques to do this.
Great. Lovely.
Right.
A playbook, if you will, for how to do this.
Right.
Excellent.
Yeah. So this is
Gosh.
what you are gonna typically see on social, some of the stuff that you're gonna typically see on social media on some platforms more than others.
Mm.
Using an existing video or image and claiming that it came from somewhere else. So, an example, a user shares a photo of a car on fire, claiming a protest in California turned into a riot, but the photo is actually from several years ago and it was taken in France.
Ooh. You know what? What
Right.
I'm starting to see, this is probably like something we'll get to, but I'm starting to see community notes being added to things like that, or people
Yes.
commenting like, hey, this picture is actually from here. If you do a quick Google search, you'll see where it came from. That's interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like applied or to be part of the Meta's. I have feelings about Meta, but
More
they made the
judgmental, more
mistake.
judgment coming, but you're like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm with you.
They made the mistake of giving me access to the community notes so that I can leave community notes. And honestly, lack of bandwidth is the only reason why I don't do it more than I ought, more than I should.
I get it.
But yes.
Yep. No.
My thoughts for that are for another show.
Judges and marketer. I got you. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another technique is staging the actions or events or manipulating the images of those same actions or events. So a photo of a rally is cropped to make it look like thousands of people were there, but the full image only shows like a few hundred.
More judgment. Okay.
Yeah. And this is what we're seeing a lot more of is AI or Photoshop created or altered images. So images that don't even exist that are, being spread as though they are real. So a post claiming that your town mayor threw puppies into the river and there's a generated image of your mayor throwing a box of puppies into the river. Like,
it's not funny, but I'm cracking up. Like, who does this? Seriously,
right.
Who does this kind of stuff? Like, people do that. It's so.
You spend 5 minutes on Facebook, and I bet you I will now see a video of a politician throwing puppies in a river.
I mean, oh my God.
So that's a huge.
It's huge. That's such a problem right now, and not like it even happens with like it'll be like some feel good video, right? It'll be like, look at all of these sweet, look at the bobcat playing with the kitten, and it's like supposed to be cute, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's adorable, and then you're like, oh wait, it's AI slop, right? So
you can't like now I see if it's an animal video that doesn't come from a zoo or like a legitimate rescue, I'm like, is this real?
Yeah. On that note, if you're not following the Shed Aquarium, you should, just because it's the most precious account ever. I love the Shed Aquarium. Okay. Next up, any more?
One more. So memeable graphics and anecdotes. So like you've seen these. They're like the graphic with a quick emotional statement that's very easily shared. And usually, the person sharing this like, share if you agree or share if you hate so-and-so. And the way to get me to not do something is to tell me to do it. And so even if I agree with it, like it could be like, share if you love puppies. And it'd be like, no, I love puppies, but I'm not sharing this.
So I don't know if you're going to get into this, but I'm like memeable graphics, like people love memes, but are you saying that they fall under the category of disinformation or
they can?
Okay.
They can fall. Like, I'll have to see if I can find a good example for the blog post. They usually are made up of false information, false photos, so it might be like an infographic that has false information on it with a false picture.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a collection of fake stuff in one easily shareable image.
That makes more sense. I have this weird idea that like if we really want, because like some people, when they become a meme, their lives are impacted so dramatically in a positive and or negative way, right? Like my thought was like, what if we make those faces the AI slop, right? Like a meme as an AI face, if it's just like, dumpster fire around you, like that's one thing. Or like the cringe face guy, like that would be different to me than what you're describing, which is like actual false information that's intended to mislead people.
Right. Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not like, when somebody posts, not like the memes that you post in reaction to like rage bait, and now you're, posting like, I take it back. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway.
Leaving that in.
Anyway.
It's fun. Like this is a perfect example of how this is a very gray area when it comes to social media. Like this is why we do have to be so careful, because there is such a, again, gray area of where things could be right or wrong or intended to be one thing. And, it's just this, that's why it's so important that we talk about this, especially for parents, like needing to know what to do for their kids and frankly for themselves, because there's plenty of misinformed parents.
And that's the thing, just from the research that I have been doing for this episode, like there's a lot of school curriculum and there's a lot of stuff out there for teens. So I feel like teens are getting this information. They are being maybe not taught to the level that they should, but they are getting this information. And it's their parents.
In some places they are. I'm going to,
totally,
you know what I mean? Like
totally.
as someone who used to write social emotional learning content for 3 grade levels, I can tell you that, yes, there are some places that are adopting curriculum that is meant to give this, and widely available free curriculum that is meant to provide this information. But whether or not it is taught by the teachers, whether or not the school has the ability to do it, there's a whole lot of reasons why, as parents, we need to adopt this sort of education and teaching for our kids, because we don't know if they're getting it at school. They might tell you,
absolutely,
but there's how many kids come home and they're like, today we talked about media literacy. Like, they're not doing that. So it just needs to be reinforced or taught the first time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, totally. Absolutely. I just see a lot of misinformation coming from adults.
That's so. And honest, let's be clear. There's a very good chance if you're listening to this podcast, you're not one of the people who's like bought into these, sources that are just not regularly posting what's actually going on. And that's fine. But maybe there's an opportunity here for you to support the people in your life who are not on the right path with their media literacy.
So that's a good segue for, when you see this stuff, what can you do? So before firing off an angry reply to the rage bait, or if even sharing an agreement, pause, just stop. And this is a question that I got from Dr. Gabriel Cruz. He is a media literacy professor in North Carolina. I am blanking on the school that he teaches at the moment, but it's one of the schools in
He's
Durham.
A university professor. He's at least not dumb when it comes to this topic. And his you put his social media material in the show notes, so people can take a look.
So in one of his videos, I don't remember if it was a video or if it was a podcast that he has. He said, "Do I have more feelings than facts about this issue?" So when you see something online, whether it be a post, a picture, a video, and it elicits an emotion, because a lot of disinformation content is meant to evoke an emotional response.
Yeah.
It's rage bait. It's meant to make you angry or get you fired up in some way. It's also to get people arguing, even if they generally agree with each other. Ask yourself, do I have more feelings than facts about this content? And if you have more feelings than facts, look for the facts before you start firing off information, before you start firing off a reply or sharing it with people. So how do we do that? the first thing is, does the information include a source? If it does include a source, check the source.
Sure.
Does the information match the source material? That's like the easiest one to do. If it doesn't, you could do a reverse image search. See if you can find that same image. And does a source for the image exist? Does the information match the original source? Are there other visuals from that event? So if you're talking about a protest, a riot, a natural disaster, very often there's going to be multiple sources of images from this event. There isn't going to just be like one person
source
taking
covering
pictures.
this. Yeah.
Right. You're not going to have one person taking pictures at a protest. There's going to be lots of pictures from that protest. So try to find other visuals from that event. When you search, you can always search the event name and then fact check. So you could say something like,
well, going back to your example from earlier, California protest fact check.
Right.
And you would put in the date of like a recent date, like,
exactly,
and narrow it down by like the month or the week or whatever, March, whatever.
Yep.
Do it that way and see what else you get.
Exactly. Because it's very possible, like if there's misinformation or disinformation going around about it, it's very likely that a reputable news outlet has already looked into the claim and has already debunked it. You might see words like couldn't independently verify. So like I listen to a lot of NPR, and especially when they're covering stuff that happens in Gaza or Ukraine, they might say, NPR could not independently verify this information, which means they had enough information to go to press with it, but those reporters reporting it were not able to
source that information for themselves. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I see what you're saying.
When you hear something like that, be prepared to get updated information. And so you don't spread misinformation because new information came out. Look for inconsistencies when you have, especially when you have an image. AI images are getting better, but they're still not great with things like patterns, logical placements of things, and background details. I'm in a writing Discord, and we have a channel specifically for, I think we call it AI nonsense. So this way nobody ends up getting scammed. And like we will zoom in on these pictures, and you can, even the ones that look really, really good, if you look in the background or if you look for inconsistencies, you do tend to find them.
Hands. If there's people in it, look at their hands. It's like, that's a big tell for me. It's not always a tell, but if the hand is like in the background, it's going to have something weird about it, like 6 fingers, or like there'll be 2 hands. Like it'll be a weird, not 2 hands, like everybody who has 2 hands understands but what I mean, like there'll be 2 on one arm. Like it'll be a weird, it'll be a weird thing. Like there'll be some sort of limb in a strange place.
Yes.
And the other one you can look at is when they're super smooth, when the entire video quality is like you've been airbrushed on Zoom, which is like my favorite thing to do. Let's be very clear about that. I airbrush the heck out of myself and everything. Turn that way up if you haven't already. But that is but if everyone looks like that and it's some video out on the street, that's not, come on now, that's not real.
Yeah.
Puppies aren't normally that fuzzy and glowy in real life. Like, come on.
Yeah. You see lots of stuff in videos, like things disappearing. So like if a dog is jumping because it's excited, but then it disappears or never like touches the ground or something like that. For me, videos are harder to spot. I've gotten a lot better with images since we started sharing them.
Yeah, there's a creator on Threads called, I think her name is Kelsey Combe with an E at the end. And I'll find her and I'll put the link in the blog post. But she has a whole thread on like knowing if a picture is true or AI. So, and I think she's a photographer. Maybe that's where that came from. So yeah, something to think about. I'll find that. But it was a good thread. I think it was like 9 different bits of information and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's really good for, spotting things that on first glance, like, look real, but then when you zoom in, it's not, But speaking of AI, when you're searching, this comes to sourcing. When you're searching, don't use the AI summary and don't use any other AI tool to fact check this stuff, because the AI summaries are providing a prediction, which means it's pulling from the same material you're trying to fact check. So it might be pulling from like real material, but it's also pulling from that fake material. And you're going to have to fact check your fact check.
Yeah.
So scroll past the sponsored links and look for reputable sources. So recognizable nonprofits, recognizable news organizations like NPR, the BBC, AP, Reuters. You don't have to necessarily agree with the lean of the news source. So like the New York Times has been kind of questionable lately, but they are still a reputable news source.
Yes.
It's not like, I saw one the other day. It was a story about politics from like sports. I don't know. It was like sportsbettingnews.com or something.
What?
Like it had nothing to do. Right, yeah, exactly. Weird. Right. And it's like, why is this? What, like, doesn't make sense. And of course, official government websites.
Yeah.
So
I will say there are times to use that AI summary. And here's the thing. If you do look at the AI summary, you need to pay attention to the links that are there on the side, because the AI summary is supposed to provide you with where it got that information from. So you may see that article that you're looking at in that list of sources. So just keep that in mind, right? But also you can go in and verify those for yourself by choosing the AI links that are available to you, and looking into those sources to see how accurate the AI summary actually is. I'll be the first to say that sometimes that AI summary is a lifesaver for me, like especially when the question is like, Mom, how do I know what kind of blue tree frog is blah blah? Like those are give me all the AI sources, right? But when I'm trying to figure out what's real and what's not in this crazy chaotic dumpster fire that we're surviving in right now, it's not my go-to, and it shouldn't be yours either, is the message in this.
No. I mean, I have the AI summaries turned on. Like I use Vivaldi now as a search engine and as a browser.
Smart.
And it doesn't have any AI summaries, because all those same links are going to be like, if you scroll by,
it's a search engine. Yeah.
Like, they're all going to be there,
right.
Yeah. So it drives me bananas when somebody's like, hey, cite your source. And then the source that they cite is the summary.
Yeah, no.
And it's like,
that's not what the AI summary is meant to be for. The AI summary is meant to give you a literal summary. It doesn't mean that all of that material is fact. It's a summary of all the information aggregated into one list of bullet points, and that could be it could include false information. So yeah.
And specific to sourcing, and when you're looking at specific articles, blog posts, Substacks, make sure you're considering what the author's purpose is, or the main idea of what they're writing about, what information and perspectives are included in that article or blog or Substack. And this is very important. Whose perspective is missing?
Wow. That's huge.
That's an important one, because, I mean, let's take something very basic that I would deal with when I was a reporter, like a local reporter. So if you've got a developer who wants to build something in a neighborhood, and everybody who attends the meeting is in favor of this development, but no one at the meeting is from the neighborhood, that perspective is being left out.
Absolutely. Yes, that's important.
Right. So making not only who are they interviewing, who are they including, but who are they leaving out? who should have been involved in this piece of work. Is the content fact, opinion, or something else? Sometimes it's a mix.
And someone who is reputable in the field will actually tell you whether or not it's fact or opinion. They'll say, like, this is my opinion based on the facts, right? And those two things should be clear and probably distinct sections of whatever it is that they're writing. And that's something to think about, because I think a lot of the time people are looking at these opinion pieces, but, you know, and they're like, oh, well, that's what so-and-so said, but they're not understanding what makes someone reputable in that situation. My goodness.
Exactly. And another important one is the financial interests of the author or the source. So you see this in the wellness industry a lot. People who are like, oh, don't get your kids vaccinated. But then they are selling like $80 bottles of vitamins that have not been regulated by the FDA and probably just contain dust from their basement. Like
dust from their basement? What?
I mean,
this was big. This was a thing that I kept seeing over and over again when the like big LLM essential oils thing hit the market, right?
Oh,
like, it's not LLM. What's it called?
Oh, MLM.
Thank you. I like to call them mom things, because they were totally targeting like trad wife moms who just like needed to support their family with a little bit of extra income. So that's why I always end up calling them MOMs, but MLM. And now I have LLM in my head because of these large language models, which are these AI ChatGPT Claude things. That's what they're called. Anyway, no, that's a big deal. I would see that a lot with the wellness industry in that context. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And you can see that when you're like, especially places like Threads or Twitter, where somebody will start throwing out claims about like birth control or vaccines or the whole milk or pasta. And then like you go to their profile and it's like, wellness, buy my 5-step chart to a better poop.
Yeah, there's
something.
And also consider who owns the network too, right? Like the independent journalists don't have to filter their questions of people, you know, and all of that. That's a very different thing. But when you look at, you know, say a source, we'll call it a source, like Twitter, it's been purchased by someone who we know has an intent and an agenda. So keeping that in mind when you look at these sources, like look at who owns the company. That's going to be a big part of it too.
Right. Exactly. So circling back, how does this all relate to civic engagement? How does this all relate to being active in, you know, your community, either on a small micro level or on a much larger level? If you're going to be mad about something, you should be mad about it for the correct reasons. And when I say correct, I mean the factual reason. You know, like it is a lot of fun to send a sternly worded email to your reps in which you include the factual information to dispute the stuff that they said on the news the day before.
Jasmine Crockett is my hero because she does that all the time. That girl comes with sources. She is like, let me tell you about this, and this, and here's why my opinion is XYZ because of that. It's amazing.
Yeah. My senator and my representative they'll get an email from me about an issue. And then when they write back with their form emails, I usually reply and fact check their form emails. And
the lie detector test determined that was a lie.
Right. And honestly, it is very cathartic to do that, which is why I tend not to call my reps. I email them because then I can cite my sources.
Yeah, you can take your time to, I usually call because I want someone to listen to what I have to say because I'm usually rambling and angry, but your method is better.
Yeah. It's one. It's the petty method.
But I love a nice petty moment. So let's.
Yes, exactly.
Just call me Peppermint Petty. I'm all here for it.
Doing all of this, it makes disinformation less powerful it basically cuts it off at the knees, because the thing with that gives disinformation power is it being spread. And if it's not being spread, then it might just continue to stay in its little bubble, and there's not really anything that you can do if it stays in the bubble, but it doesn't need to go outside the bubble, which is sometimes what we see on social media, where a random, rage baiter will say something to their audience of literally like 10 people, but somebody on the other side saw it, shared it like it was important, and then it gets blown. There's no reason for that rage bait to get blown up the way that it does. Like, just block and move on. And along with all of this, it forces people to kind of back up their claims. If you are asking people to cite their sources, you are showing them that you are not going to tolerate just the word vomit that people are throwing out there without any sort of backup. And it teaches you to cite your sources, which, when we are sharing information, and this information it's not something that it's not a source that needs to be protected, in that, the people filming protests and stuff, obviously we don't want their names and stuff out there. We don't have to source the names. But if that video was in an NPR article, you can share the NPR article. When somebody says this happened, share the news source that you got it from.
Yeah.
Just make it a habit to kind of always have that information, because if you are putting a claim out there, the burden of proof is on you.
Agree.
To back that up.
Right.
Yeah. If somebody, when people are like, do you do research? No, if you're going to make this claim, then
do your own research, but do it from reputable sources. Understand where, that's the whole point, is do your own research, but that doesn't mean from, Bobby Sue, Linda, Frank, who makes up her own information about pasta water and how it's effective for, bug bites. You cannot just make things up and say, I cited this source. No, you didn't. You found something that agreed with what you were interested in, and then you decided to share that. That's not the same thing. That's not what we mean by citing your source. So I think people have that twisted. Is cite your source and say where you got it from, but then also pay attention to where you got it from. That's right. What are you doing? So I think that's really that's what passes. I'm calling this your sniff test, right? Does the information that you're citing actually have factual information with it, right? So, and man, are we really missing that skill right now across this country? Holy smokes.
Exactly. Yeah, I saw a post a while back, and it was from a scientist, and they're like, the scientists and the researchers and the doctors are not hiding anything from you. We are nerds who like to talk about our special interest. And it's trust me, if somebody is interested in a thing, they probably have sources for it. They probably, maybe not I the top of my hat, because as an ADHD person, my recall can be really, really bad. So I am very much I saw this thing the other day, but then I will go and look for it.
Right.
But
I'm also very selective. I'm I saw this one line in this one piece of information, and I know the source was good, but the one line is the only thing I can remember, and that's what I'm going to tell you.
That's exactly. And there, we can be human about this. There are going to be, especially if you're neurodivergent, And, we do have, poor
Yeah.
recall,
Yeah.
and we will see a thing and maybe we forget to save it or we share it. And then I will spend literally 15 minutes
Trying to find it. Yeah.
scrolling through threads,
Trying
trying to find it.
Yeah. Annoying.
Like, we can give people grace while also having higher standards overall.
And
when we see
maybe start with yourself. Hold yourself to that higher standard of media literacy. Like, it's keeping it in that bubble. Like, if it's not good information, you're allowed to say, hey, actually, this is the right information, and then move on from it and don't give it any more air, right? Like, just don't give it don't let it live in your head rent free. That's not healthy. Like, just don't give it any more air, because it's not healthy for anyone, not just you.
Right, exactly. So the next time you see something questionable, I want you guys to pause, ask yourself, do I have more feelings than facts about this issue? And your homework is to bookmark 3 reputable news sources that kind of pass sniff test with words.
That pass the sniff test with reputable information.
Right. So
where you can find facts, like actual facts. Like, that would be the sniff test. Is this a fact? I mean, I think, you might get that question of, like, what is a fact? I think that's something that people are really struggling with right now is what is a fact?
And that's the thing is, like, a lot of this stuff is not going to be black and white. Like, it's not going to be clearly defined lines. It's going to be several shades of gray, because even when you have, like, reputable news sources and you have really good journalists, everybody is approaching all of this with some kind of lens, and the point of it all is to be able to make the best decision you can with the information that you can find. And it's never going to be perfect. And you also have to be willing to say that you were wrong. Like, the information that you got was incorrect, or the information that you got was outdated. And that can be hard.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
I think that there is a very real trying to spare their own embarrassment about being wrong about something. I think that's a big issue with highly misinformed and disinformed people, is they don't want to admit that they were wrong. But it is okay to learn something new and then change your mind about things. That's how you grow. We've talked about that on this show quite a bit with parenting things, right? Like, yes, I used to let you play Minecraft for this many hours a day, but now I've learned something new, and I've learned that that's not healthy for you, so I'm going to limit your time. It is okay to do those things as a parent, so it needs to be okay for you to do those things for yourself, and then model that growth for the people who are watching you and learning behaviors from you, right? And that doesn't just mean kids. It oftentimes does, but it also means the other adults in your life. Like, you model the behavior you wish to see. That means using reputable resources, understanding that people are not making up videos of protests. Like, there's just things that are not happening, that you need to be okay admitting, like, okay, I was completely misinformed about this.
Right.
I need to do better and learn something new.
Definitely. And I think that's why, kind of going back to that, like, do I have more feelings than facts about a thing? Because especially as an ADHD person, I feel emotions very strongly, and I can be really impulsive on acting on those emotions. And I have in the past responded to things where, especially on threads where you might not see the original conversation, like the root of the conversation, you just saw the responses to the conversation. And sometimes you don't even know that you're responding to a response. And I have reacted to the response without all of the facts and have been very, very wrong.
Yeah.
And have admitted when I'm very, very wrong. But that strategy has given me a speed bump so that I do my due diligence. So I'm not reacting completely emotionally.
Right.
Every single time.
Right. And you said something earlier, and as someone who works in social, like this comes to my mind a lot, but sometimes when you see these rage bait posts, which again are intended to make the reader angry or feel some type of way about something and then start arguing, the whole point of those posts, is engagement, right? Those posts are intended to give the person who posted it a boost in the algorithm. That is the entire, because if there's a boost in the algorithm, then their information gets seen more, and they can either go about their other agenda, which is maybe they're selling something, or maybe there's some sort of bot that's trying to spread misinformation, whatever it is. But just understand, like, the whole purpose of those is engagement and nothing else. It's not to give you real information. It could, but that's not the point of it. So just keeping that in mind, if you see some sort of viral post that's about something fact-based, that's really where you need to sniff it out, right? I mean, we're not saying a viral post about a puppy like is not something that you should like, right? That's not the point here. The point is when it's something that is people are arguing about over or is something that could be considered controversial, this is where you sniff and you decide, like, okay, is there a source? You go through her checklist, you pause, you ask yourself, do I have more feelings than facts? If there are facts, where did those facts come from? If there aren't facts, move on. Don't give it your attention. Don't give it the algorithm boost. Block that person and keep on going. You don't need to pay attention to it.
Right. I actually just got, a few days ago, I got a link sent from my aunt about, I don't know, it was something like somebody was putting like razor blades in mailboxes or something.
What?
Like it was something weird. And I was like, what? And so I Googled it. And the video that she shared with me was new. Like it had just posted like a few days earlier. But when I Googled the news, I found out that yes, in fact, it was whatever it was true. But it was several years ago. And it was only in this tiny small town near Charlotte. And it happened like 3 times. And so the video that had been shared with me made it sound like there's some crazy person running around North Carolina just like shoving, I don't know, razor blades in people's mailboxes, when really whatever happened, I didn't find any like update to it. So I'm assuming it stopped, but it was like, it happened like 3 times a few years ago.
And wild that the video was new. Like that part is strange to me.
Well, and I think that's what tends to happen, especially online, is that this stuff
resurfaces.
It resurfaces. Yeah. You know, it resurfaces, and then, you know, people either like aren't paying attention because they assume that it's new because they've never seen it before. And so they either miss the date on it purposely or accidentally. And that's where like the misinformation, like misinformation versus disinformation comes in.
If they intentionally leave the date out, that's one thing. But if you just miss it, that's entirely another.
Exactly.
And that's a very important piece. Like that's so interesting. And that is another thing to be cautious about, is this recycling of information. You'll see people make comments about that too. Like, oh yeah, this went viral a few years ago. It turns out this, and this. And that's very helpful when you see that kind of stuff. Don't ignore those community notes, because usually those are full of people who are doing the work of the fact checking.
Right. Yeah.
But and that's crazy. What a... Ooh.
Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that like it was very easy for me to Google razor blades in mailboxes, North Carolina.
Right. Google is free too. It's free to use. You're allowed to use this resource to
Right.
search for things. Did you know that? I would tell that to my students all the time. I'd be like, you have a Google machine in your hand. Do you understand how hard that was when I was a kid to imagine that we might have a Google machine in our hand? You're joking.
Right.
Like, even when we had Blackberries,
Yes.
it didn't have Google on it yet. So, like, this is like, right? Like, I have a supercomputer in my hand and it knows everything about me to a point that's probably scary, but that's a topic for another. I'm just saying, like, Google is free. You're allowed to look things up and learn something new. You don't have to and scroll past the AI something. So, all right. Well, that was a lot of information. Thank you for sticking with us. This is, I think, a really important conversation to be having among adults, but also, of course, with your kids. Next time, I am going to be sharing how to turn everyday little moments into digestible civics lessons. So I'm calling it Democracy in the Minivan right now. That's the idea I have in my head.
So
because I'm so good at like writing and stuff, I was like workshopping. I'm like, but the other thing is, I don't know how many people are still driving minivans? Or are they pulling like a Kelly Kapoor and being like, I want an SUV with 3 rows of seats?
I mean, there's definitely plenty of them in the school parking lot when I drop off my child.
Okay, well, that makes me feel funny. Yeah. I don't have a minivan, I have an SUV, so I just don't. It's a small. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares about my car with the cracked windshield.
I care about your car.
Oh, Subaru. Woo!
Because we both have Foresters.
Does yours have a cracked windshield too?
No.
Oh, yeah, I need to get mine fixed. It's been cracked for a minute. And by a minute, I mean several years. Guys, subscribe now to this podcast because this is how you get the best content, clearly.
Right.
Full of all the good stuff.
Maybe next time I'm here, I will tell you guys how I taught my child about hedge funds closing stores like Toys R Us.
Oh. Is that something you want to hear about? Send us a text. There's a link in the show notes. Just let us know. Otherwise, tune in next time. Like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right. Or you can follow me on Threads and
are you going to do a
scroll
series?
through my feed. No, it was just I posted it the other day, and it was actually one of my like, because of course if I post anything about my books, like it doesn't go anywhere. But I make a random comment about how I told my child about Toys R Us, and he was like, I don't know what that is. And I was like, because hedge funds bankrupted it and then closed it, and it was some of my best content.
Yeah, I made
engaging content.
Yeah, I made a post once about Tootsie Rolls.
I remember that.
It had like 12,000 likes on it. I'm like, Tootsie Rolls. Y'all, can we really? Tootsie Rolls? I did not know that my post-nail appointment Tootsie Roll was going to cause this kind of response. But also when I post about my podcast material, crickets. So welcome to Threads. Anyway.
Yeah.
Democracy in the Minivan is coming. Tune in for that next week. Until then,
I'm here for it.
Have a great one. Make good choices. Love you, mean it. Bye.
Bye.
Hey friends, thanks for listening to the CK and GK podcast. Find us at CK and GK podcast on Instagram and Twitter, and rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, or anywhere else that you pod. See you next time.